In the 8th century BCE, the prophet Micah wrote, "But you, O Bethlehem of Ephrathah, who are one of the little clans of Judah, from you shall come forth from me one who is to rule in Israel, whose origin is from of old, from ancient days. Therefore he shall give them up until the time when she who is in labor has brought forth. Then the rest of his kindred shall return to the people of Israel. And he shall stand and feed his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God. And they shall live secure, for now he shall be great to the ends of the earth, and he shall be the one of peace."
Our second reading this morning comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 1, verses 39 to 45. In the Gospel reading, Elizabeth and Mary marvel at the meaning of the birth of Mary's child and blesses Mary for believing in the ancient promise. In those days, Mary set out and went with haste to a Judean town in the hill country, where she entered the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the child leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit and exclaimed with a loud cry, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And why has this happened to me, that the mother of my Lord comes to me? For as soon as I heard the sound of your greeting, the child in my womb leaped for joy. And blessed is she who believed that there would be a fulfillment of what was spoken to her by the Lord."
My name is Elisheba. It means God's promises. But you know me as Elizabeth, wife of Zechariah. And this is our son John. Now I know what you must be thinking. How can a woman of my age possibly have a child this young? I've heard that before. But God's promises are real. And with God, anything is possible. Let me tell you my story. It began many years ago when Zechariah and I were married, and we settled in the Judean hill country. It was such a joyful time, and we were so full of hope for our future. Zechariah was a young priest in the family line of Aaron. I was preparing to raise a family. But it didn't quite happen the way we planned it. The years went by, and there were no children. We tried and prayed for many years, but to no avail. No one understood. In our culture, it was expected that women would have children. And if they did not, they must have done something terribly wrong for God to punish them. First, our friends and family pitied us, but it quickly turned to scorn, and finally they shunned us. For many years, we led a very isolated and lonely life. In time, though, we accepted that it just wasn't meant to be and tried to live faithful lives, exemplary of servanthood. And then things took a turn that neither of us expected. As a priest, Zechariah takes his turn serving at the temple. During one week, when our family line was serving, he was chosen by lottery to go into the sanctuary and perform the incense offering, a great honor. One day, while he was at the altar, an angel appeared to him and told him that our prayers had been answered, that we would have a son who would prepare the people for the Lord, and that we should name him John. But Zechariah told him we were too old to have children and asked for a sign by which we would know this was true. It was the wrong thing to say. Because of his doubt, the angel who told him he was Gabriel, the angel of the Lord, struck him speechless until he would accept these things. Zechariah came home, and even though he couldn't speak, he found a way to communicate the good news to me. And soon we discovered that indeed we were going to have a child. We were so happy that now people would stop looking on us with disgrace. When I was about 6 months along, the same angel appeared to my young relative Mary, who lived down in Nazareth, and told her that she would be the mother of the Son of God, who would be called Jesus. Now, this kind of news was unsettling enough to an old married couple. But for a young girl like Mary, it must have been overwhelming. She and Joseph were not yet married, and this would not be easy to explain. So she came to spend some time with me and stayed for 3 months. We had so much to talk about, and I was able to understand her situation in a way that no one else could. When she arrived, my baby leapt for joy, and I immediately recognized that young Mary would be the mother of my Lord, and blessed her for accepting this most difficult and yet wonderful honor. And I felt even more blessed that our children had a special connection, even before they were born. After Mary left, it was not long until our son was born. We were filled with joy, and our family and neighbors celebrated with us because of the great mercy the Lord had shown us. But when the 8th day came and it was time for the circumcision and naming, our family didn't care for the chosen name. There was no one named John in our family, and they wanted us to name him after his father. But we had committed. And I said, no, his name will be John. And then they turned to Zechariah, who still could not speak. And he asked for a tablet. He looked at me and then at our baby and surprised all of them by writing, his name is John. And at that moment, he was able to speak again. Everyone was in awe, and word spread quickly throughout the Judean countryside. People were amazed and wondered about this special child. We are still filled with much joy. But I wonder, too, what John's life will be like. And I wonder about Mary. Her time is very near, and her child could come any day now. I worry about her having to travel to Bethlehem for the census. What if the baby comes while they are there? And with all the talk about Mary's baby being called the Messiah, how will King Herod react to that? He has never hesitated to put anyone to death who threatened his power. And will my own child's life be in danger? I worry about all of these things. And yet, with all the uncertainties surrounding us right now, my heart is still filled with hope. I pray that these babies, the promised Messiah who is to come, and this child who will prepare the way for him, might bring us hope, not just for my time, but also for yours. Amen.